Well, welcome everyone to our webinar here, giving all of us Big Red alums a chance to meet our new director, Mack Wood. We're very excited to welcome you and welcome to Illinois State. Pretty much a common saying here is that once you're a member of Big Red, you are a member of Big Red for life. So as alums, we want to thank you for including us and letting us get to know you. I'm Barb Dallinger, and I was in Big Red in 1978, 1979, and 1980. Feeling a little dated there for a minute. The picture behind me is Redbird entry 1978 under the direction of Ed Livingston. Whoop, other way, they're behind me conducting. And up in the corner in the white uniforms, we have Kevin and Jane as our drum majors. I'm a little flute way over there on the far left. One of the shorter little flutes. I was always pretty easy to pick out. But I'm also currently the Associate Director for Event Management, Dining, and Hospitality here at Illinois State in the Bone Student Center. And I've been at Illinois State for the last 29 years. So it is great to have been on campus that long, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you better and continuing that relationship. So our first question, why Illinois State? What brought you here?
Well, you know, when you finish up grad school, one of the things that they tell you is you go to grad school to find a job. So I needed and wanted a job, but more importantly, knowing Tony Marinello's reputation as a great human being, musician, and teacher, knowing Ben Steyer's reputation is the same, it seemed like a great staff to be a part of. Looking at the history of ISU and just how band is really well supported here and the strong educational background of ISU, I think was a good fit for me. This whole community looks to be like a great fit for my family so far, albeit even virtually. My daughters really enjoyed first grade, and you know, my wife ended up getting a job here at ISU in the audiology department. So
great.
Doors just kind of flung open. So it's looked like a great place to be, and so far has been a great place to be.
That's wonderful. So I understand you were a drum major at UT Austin in your undergrad.
I was.
And since they are known as the show band of the South, 375 members strong, you were used to big, which is good, because sometimes our size, I feel, can be a little overwhelming to some people. So you were used to that. How do you think that experience has helped you relate maybe to our current drum majors, to the Big Red members overall? How do you think that helped you on the way there?
You know, going from just a performing member my first 2 years at UT to a section leader my third year to drum major my fourth and fifth years, I think it allowed me to kind of see perspective. Okay, this is how you feel if you're in this position. This is how you feel across the season in this position, and this is how you feel across the season as drum major. So I think more than anything, perspective. You know, every time we get to midterm week, it doesn't matter when the students were in school, you're wore out when it comes to midterm week. So having gone through it as a student and then having gone through it as a high school teacher, I think all of those things work to help relate to how the students are feeling and to keeping things relevant. I think as far as relevancy with drum majors, just knowing some tricks of the trade, like if you're trying to keep tempo on the field, a lot of times you tell a drum major to watch the drum captain's feet while they're marking time to make sure that the tempo is going the same. Just some tricks of the trade that way, just to help keep the performance level up.
Wow, that's very cool. My claim to fame when I was in Big Red, during the downfield march, I was the little flute in front that was supposed to lead the people down, and I cannot march a straight line. So after trying several times, Dr. Livingston basically said, you can't walk straight. Someone needs to be in front of you. And I got booted back a row because I could not walk a straight line. Also got booted out of the front row and marching on streets too, because I was weaving the band out of the way. But everyone was very helpful and understanding. So you have marched in the Rose Bowl parade as an undergrad.
I did.
Were you the drum major when you did that?
I was.
Oh, how cool is that? Wow, how scary. You could march a straight line.
There was
Um,
a big red line painted on the actual road, so that helps.
really? I could do it if I had something like that. Holy cow. So what were your favorite experiences at UT when you were in your marching band like that? And do you plan to include some of those things in the future for Big Red? Are you thinking along those lines, maybe?
I am. The first thing, and I think I'm obligated to say this, is I met my wife at UT Austin in the marching band, so that has to be my favorite experience, right?
Oh, that's so sweet. She was in the band too?
She was a piccolo player and section leader.
Oh, yay, piccolo flutes. Well, we
Yeah.
knew we liked her already. Awesome.
So some of the other things that were cool, I marched in both of George W. Bush's inaugural parades. So doing inauguration parades was really, really a neat opportunity. The Rose Bowl parade was great. That Rose Bowl parade was attached to the University of Texas playing Michigan in the Rose Bowl later that night, which they won, which was Texas's first BCS Bowl victory, which was a big deal at the time. Now the BCS obviously isn't the thing anymore. All the travel associated with being at Texas, whether I was in the pep band or the marching band, all those opportunities were fantastic. So, but those are some of the ones that stuck out. Some things that I'm looking at doing here. Number one, the first thing I'm looking at doing is doing anything I can to help COVID-19 go away. But once travel restrictions,
love that.
yes, once travel restrictions and things lighten up and we're able to get out and do some things, I'm looking at doing a Macy's Thanksgiving parade. I would love to participate in a Rose Bowl parade. I'm looking at possibly doing a St. Patrick's parade in Ireland. We're looking at doing maybe an international trip. Once our travel guidelines kind of calm down, then we'll be able to maybe put some more concrete plans in place. But those are things that we're looking at on top of doing all the things for the community that Big Red already does.
That sounds exciting. So speaking of COVID, we had, only because I, work in the Bone Student Center and run Brain Auditorium, we had a discussion the other day. Talk to me about these bell cover things. Explain the bell covers. I'm not sure everybody else is aware of those.
Sure. So there were some studies, a couple studies that were sponsored by the College Band Directors National Association. Prominently, the University of Colorado at the time released a study talking about aerosols. So it's basically moisture or aerosols releasing from an instrument in indoor facilities. So what is the best way that we can still have indoor music rehearsals with maintaining, without contaminating the air, remaining as safe as possible? So every player has a mask, whether it's one that they've makeshifted or one that we've given to them, where you just cut a slit in it, mouthpiece slides in, and then a bell cover, just a piece of fabric that fastens over the bell of the instrument. And what that's designed to do is to keep the droplets and aerosols from actually leaving the bell of the instrument. And when it comes to brass instruments, we have puppy pads or microfiber towels on the floor where they can empty their spit. But the bell covers are supposed to keep us from contaminating the air to provide the safest indoor rehearsal experience.
So I can see a clarinet person being able to put their mouthpiece through the little slit. So the flutes are playing with a little slit through their.
The mask here, and then they just slide the head joint in between the mask.
Okay. I'm so not there. Wow. That would almost take your whole piccolo. Holy cow. That is pretty exciting. So on that same kind of thing, how are y'all handling the pandemic? What's that meaning for Big Red rehearsals? I know we've been getting a lot of questions about, is Big Red meeting? Are they practicing? How are you doing that?
So to start the year, obviously our plan was we were going to participate more like pet band style with the football games. Then when football shifted to the spring, our initial plan was originally to just move BRMM to the spring and maybe think about not doing something in the fall. But then a lot of questions came up about, hey, what about students that have to have credit? Or we talked about the importance of student engagement just with mental health and things like that. So we gave the students the opportunity, like, hey, if you want to do basically virtual BRMM, we're going to create a virtual version and a hybrid version. So if you want to be involved, we'll create a way for you to be involved. And the virtual only or the hybrid. They come to one session per week. On Mondays, we talk about leadership concepts and goal setting and planning and things along those lines. And then on Wednesdays, we've talked about the history and development of marching bands. So we've talked about
That's cool.
going from military style band to what you see a lot more college bands doing now. We've talked about the same thing in the public schools, K through 12, mostly 6 through 12. And most recently, we've talked about the last couple weeks, the evolution of drum corps. So that's what the virtual sessions are. For the students that want the hybrid option, they attend one of the virtual sessions. And then we did a couple of video projects, which should be coming out in the next week or two. One is Alma Mater Fight Song. The other one is the students wanted to get together and do Build Me Up Buttercup. And athletics was very gracious and let us record that project in the stadium. So the students got the opportunity to play in the stadium a little bit. So that was fun for them.
Oh, that's exciting. So what do you mean about going back more to military band style?
So if you look at like the late 1800s up really through like World War II, you see a lot of bands that are predominantly like parade and flanking formations. So a lot of like bodies facing the direction you're going. And between like the 50s, 60s, 70s, it started to evolve more to what you're used to seeing college bands do now.
And you see it going back to the other way?
No.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So this is where I want to do a little plug here for the chat feature. Down in the bottom of the screen, you'll see the chat feature. Oh, we have one chat. Oh, we were. Awesome. Mark, let me know what you played. That is great. We were in Big Red the same time. Down in the chat feature, you can ask questions, and we will then get to those once we go through some of the regular questions that we have there. And oh, awesome. Tuba, we were pretty close, actually, frequently piccolos and tubas around the drum people. I want to kind of kick this off with one question. We had a question come in that we had from Mack, and I'd kind of like to pull everybody else in on it. One of the questions is, all of us have had the same experience of marching in Big Red, or if not Big Red, the earlier band program. The question we received was, where does Big Red practice now? And what I think it'd be cool to put in the chat is, where did you practice when you were in Big Red? Like we practiced on, it's kind of a blur, but I think it's the parking lot now, off to the north of it. I think it's a parking lot now. But where did people practice and where are they practicing now? I guess if you were practicing, we have to caveat that a little bit.
Yeah, the official parking lot name is G82. We call it Paradise. I think that's been its nickname for a little while now.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit north and just a touch west of the stadium, which it's easily walking distance. But if you go out of the north end zone and you take a slight left, it's right there, kind of just past the indoor track facility.
So you're on concrete.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the grass. You're on concrete.
Yeah.
Do they have lines drawn on there for you?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a full grid. So we have lines and hashes and all of that good stuff, and we even have a tower out there.
Yeah, I've obviously seen the tower. Obviously seen that one because it's tall.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's interesting. Some of the people back in the day where the College of Business building is, some people practiced where the College of Business building is right up there. Some of us parked out over by almost closer to the glass house, over by the glass house. Interesting. That's great. So let me see here. We'll see if those come in, if people know how. So this is more of a general. When did you know that you wanted to direct college bands? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, about how you got here, maybe after undergrad, what made you want to do all this?
Part of me always, when I was an undergrad, always wanted to teach college, marching band and athletic bands especially. So I taught high school for 11 years, and I thought in the Dallas area. I'm from the Dallas area originally. And I thought I was going to stay at that the second high school where I taught forever. I opened that school in 2009 and stayed there till I went back to grad school, and just
Wow.
had the right door open to go to LSU to work on a master's, and then that opened the door to Miami to work on a doctorate. But yeah, while I was teaching high school, I thought I was going to stay there forever. Went back and did a couple of conducting workshops, summer conducting workshops, where it's basically where you go and you get on a podium and you conduct, and clinicians give you feedback on how to do things better. And so that kind of piqued my interest in going that direction and studying a little bit more and trying to grow more. So I mean, as soon as I stepped foot on campus at LSU and went through a football game day there in Death Valley and all that experience, I was pretty hooked to the college scene.
Mhm.
And then the rest kind of led me here. Well, it didn't kind of lead me here; it directly led me here.
Nice. Well, we are very glad. That's exciting.
Thank you.
I think your dissertation topic tells a lot about your commitment to the concept of bands overall. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm actually still writing it, so it's pretty fresh. I transcribed a piece that was composed by Hannah Kendall and was premiered by the Chineke Orchestra. And just something to note about the Chineke Orchestra, Hannah Kendall and the Chineke Orchestra are both from around the London area. And
Ooh.
they employ and promote performers and composers of what they call Black, Asian, and ethnically diverse. So it's an orchestra designed to serve underrepresented voices in the classical music world. And I was looking for pieces to transcribe, and it was about a 2 or 3 month process. And I finally found Hannah's piece, The Spark Catchers, and thought it would translate really well to Wind Ensemble. And thought the message behind it as well was important in our time. There's a lot of voices that just aren't as heard as they need to be within our discipline. And I wanted to take a little bit of time at the end of my dissertation to talk about the role model theory, which is people need to see people that look like them successful in any avenue to feel like they have the opportunity to also be successful. So that's why I chose the piece that has the connection to the orchestra that it did. And just to give a little brief discussion about why that's important.
Wow, that is interesting. So when do you think you'll be done?
I hope I'm done after the holiday break. We come back, so then that way I can defend maybe March or April, and then hopefully officially be graduated in Dr. Wood in May.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you mentioned that you're married and you have a daughter. I'm a Jean. So do you envision them being a part of the Big Red family, taking part in game days? What do they think of all of this going on?
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter actually turns 7 tomorrow, so she's very excited about everything this week. My wife Rachel being employed here on campus, we're both very invested in the Illinois State, and she's all about coming to football games or basketball games or volleyball games when we're allowed to do such things again. When I was at LSU, Imogen would come with me to a lot of the basketball games and volleyball games that I worked. So she really enjoys all of that.
Awesome. Which school is she in?
She's in Benjamin Elementary right now. She'll start going back in person 2 days a week next week.
She excited about that?
She's very excited about that. She told me the other day, she's like, Daddy, I'm tired of the computer. I'm like, I hear you.
I hear you. Yeah. You and me both. So one question that I know is on our mind is what can we, as the alums of Big Red, what can we do, A, to help you, but also to stay connected to the organization as a whole?
Yeah, I know that one of the tasks that Tony Marinello and myself have talked about is getting alumni and alumni band more involved with the current students. I think the current students need to know the history of the band. I think they need to hear from actual alumni and say, hey, this is what things were like when I was there. So they understand the uniform that they're wearing isn't just a piece of clothing, article of clothing. It represents the whole lineage of whether it's the ISU marching band or the Big Red Marching Machine. So to understand maybe the weight that they carry a little bit, I think that goes a long way with helping students carry themselves with pride within the organization and helping them to be better representatives of the academic institution that we're a part of. But just being involved, getting to know the students, when we get ready to do alumni band, like for real, being involved with that process, we're working to get that going a little more and to reach out. You know, there's times where I'd love to have alumni come out and talk to the students at a rehearsal, the first 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes, just to talk about how special that experience was to them. You know, I mentioned earlier about midterm weeks being stressful. One of the really uplifting things for students is to hear from people that when they graduated, how special the experience was for them. And a lot of times that can help people see beyond how we feel this week and to see that we're really a part of something bigger that's served many people for many years.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that has made the marching band alumni group so special to me, it sounds crazy. The people that I am the closest to in that organization are not people that I was in band with. It's like you have that common experience, and that's what brings you together. There are several people that are older or younger than me that I have really connected with and become very good friends with through that alumni organization. It's great to see the people that you were there with and reconnect them with them. But I think people also need to not be afraid to come just because you think you're going to be the only person from your year.
Yeah.
You know, the other, I've talked about it for years. One of my main frustrations, if 300 people are in this thing every year, our alumni band at homecoming should like fill a block. I mean, it should go on forever because there are so many people who could come back. And that would send such an incredible message to people if they just saw rank after rank after rank of these alums. We've marched connected to the band, like interspersed, and we've marched separated. The problem with separated is you're really, it's luck of the draw who comes. I mean, if you don't have a trumpet, well, you don't have a trumpet, you know? But one of my most cherished alumni band experiences, one of my student workers who'd worked for me for 4 years and was in the band for 4 years, we marched. She was also a flute player, and we marched side by side in the homecoming parade her senior year. And it just meant so much to share that together, you know, to be able to do that. And that's one of the fortunate things of being on campus, to be able to do things like that. But it's such a great organization to connect with people who weren't necessarily here the same time. But I've also gotten to know people who were in the band with me that I didn't know, because I spent most of the time, you know, 60 yards away from you. So it can go both ways. It can be just an incredible experience. We've had people come back who were, you know, twirlers 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And it's a lot of fun. Do you think that you're going to continue? I'm not even sure this is your decision. Do you think you're going to continue with Band Day, the high school competition?
ISMBC, yeah, that's going to definitely keep going.
Yeah. Is that something that you would want help from the alums with?
I'm going to always say yes, with the caveat of that's a conversation between Tony Marinello and myself. He's been running the show the last 3 years. Yeah. So me being new, I don't want to say, hey, here's the sign-up sheet. I want to make sure that I give everyone the right avenue where we need help, but I'm sure that we would never turn down help. And it may not even be a bad idea to have, if there's the Alumni Band Association wants to come and just have a couple people to mingle. I'm sure that those things will all be positive.
Things like that. Let me see, we have some chats coming in here. Mark Drake is telling us that they rehearsed in the field north of the end zone under the water tower. That is a much more accurate description of where we marched to. Thank you. That was much more. Ooh, do these go up or do they go down? Oh, they moved. Okay, moving on. When he was a TA in 93 and 95, the band department, we rehearsed one season of Paradise, which is outside of Tri-Towers, and 1 year on the grass field next to CVA, which you're right, is now another parking lot. Julie, we practiced on the grass practice field just south of U High. I'm thinking that's the same deal. Oh, things are moving here. This is exciting. Nathan, 06 and 07 on the football field at the high school near the arena. It was rough, lots of twisted ankles. Amen on that one. There were holes and things. The real ISU marching band, go Gary, the real ISU marching band in the 60s under George Fuller practiced on a marked field adjacent to Centennial where the College of Business sits now. Yes. Yay, Gary. Scott's here. Scott, I didn't see you. Hi, hon. I can't see you now. Hi. Oh, Scott's here. If the football season is to potentially resume in the spring, will the marching band still be a part of things? There will obviously still be a bit of snow on the ground. You want to take that one?
Sure. Right now, our current plan in place is what we were going to do this fall, which is we're going to split berm into pet bands, and there's a spot, basically the grassed area in the north end zone where the team comes through. We're going to set up shop there and operate kind of more like a pet band. At the time in the fall, we weren't allowed to do anything on the field based on safety guidelines at the time. We are intending to be involved in any form or fashion that we can. Obviously, if restrictions lighten up, then we're able to do more, then we're going to do more. If things tighten up and we have to do a little less, then we'll still do as much as we can do and operate within the safety guidelines. If we do get the chance to march on a little snow, we'll do a Disney on Ice show to kick the season off, and I think everyone will appreciate the humor.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. We came close to that. We traveled to a Cleveland Browns game, and it was so cold. The little flute player next to me passed out from the cold. It was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Nathan practiced on the Kingsley Junior High field. Really? Nathan, can you add to that and tell us what years that was? Gary's I'm losing control of my questions here. Gary wants to know, when can we see the new marching and drum major uniforms?
We're looking to do a reveal of those. They're supposed to be in come December. So as long as everything goes to plan, that's still and they come in December. Then we're looking to do a reveal. We're going to put a little video together and all of that to reveal the drum major and the new uniforms. So hopefully December, early January at the latest.
Awesome. And Nathan is saying that was in 06 and 07 when they were practicing on the field across the street here. Huh, interesting. Cheryl from 7780, woohoo, saying hello. Just curious where in the Dallas area you taught, as she lived in Grapevine for 23 years.
Cool. Yeah. I went to high school at Louisville High School. I was a fighting farmer, super awesome mascot. And then I taught my first year at Irving Nimitz High School, which obviously very close to Grapevine. And I taught for 3 years and as assistant director at Forney High School. And then I opened and was the head director at North Forney High School for 7 years. It's kind of all over the DFW area. In high school, I did spend quite a bit of time out at the Grapevine Mills Mall when that opened, with the big deal that was out there. So I'm familiar with that area for sure. Cool.
Let's see here. Okay, how do I get this to move? I feel like I'm losing questions. Oh, Nathan's saying that was a backup field, and that was with Dr. Belanja. Oh, Dr. Belanja, we miss Dr. Belanja. What about doing an alumni band as part of Bandorama? Might be easier for those whose backs or knees aren't in, oh dear, I lost the question. There we go. Aren't in as great a shape as they used to be. That's an interesting idea. Granted, that's probably a Tony question too. But
a little bit. I know Bandorama, I don't believe has happened in the last few years. So that's certainly a conversation that we can have. I don't know all of the history on why it hasn't happened the last few years.
Well, part of that was my fault, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well,
We had, we had a chance to bring some entertainers during family weekend to the auditorium,
okay,
and family weekend was in more favor of a family concert. So that's kind of my fault.
that's okay. But what I will say is we can also explore different ways just to make sure that however we do, alumni band is inclusive and gives everyone the opportunity that they feel good about participating. I'm not looking to send anybody to the hospital for coming to do band for a day.
Yeah, there are days. But it feels like it. Um, what about the Prism concerts? The Big Red alums used to attend the Prism concerts. Do you know, are they planning, like, is that anywhere in the back of the mind? Or is that something that was,
Not right now, but not to say that that's not something that could happen. Unfortunately, well, not, yeah, no, unfortunately, most of my planning has been how to navigate through COVID-19 and all of this. So we do have some plans for some things down the road, but those are more trip oriented, to where we're able to look at maybe doing a Prism concert or a Bandorama or taking Bandorama on the road or things like that. I think I'll feel better about making those plans when we kind of get out of this. Because last thing we want to do is put a giant production together and just go, just kidding, see you in a couple of years.
just kidding, sorry. Yeah, and we totally don't mean to be putting you on the spot or anything, just because we know you don't have a lot of control over positively everything. Okay, I'm going through here some more. I figured out how to make it move down. So that's the good news. Okay, I think we've answered all the questions. Does anybody have something that I've missed that they haven't gotten answered? If so, throw it back in there again.
I know a question that I've been asked by a lot of different people, not necessarily just alums, is am I going to stay here longer than a year? And the answer to that question is my wife has already threatened my life if I even look for another job, which I wouldn't. We're both very happy here. So we're looking forward to being here for a while.
I know the students were, they had their feet knocked out from underneath them. You know, they were anticipating a little more, I guess, long-term stability, and that didn't happen. So I'm sure that's part of it behind there, that they just kind of want to make sure before they get like totally attached to you, you know, that you're gonna be there. I know one question I've had, and a purely selfish, it's all about me, Will. How are you guys doing juries and applied lessons?
Some of those are happening in person, just following the safety guidelines with bell covers, masks, and distancing. Some things are happening virtual, some things are happening in person. Obviously, the main thing is there's like any type of performance we do, there's no live audience. So the themes that we can live stream, we live stream. For the bands, I know that we're doing recording sessions. So all the sections in each ensemble is split. So there's like a trumpet ensemble, horn ensemble, clarinet ensemble, flute ensemble in each one of the concert bands. So we're going to set recording times up for them in the CPA, and we're going to try to, then we'll eventually put those out to the world. And I think juries are happening in person for the most part, but same, no audience, just the applied faculty member,
Yeah,
and the student.
I know they're looking at Braden for some of that too, just to give you guys more space. Braden in the ballroom,
Yeah.
to try and get some of that in there. Awesome. Oops. Still looking down. Okay. Alrighty. Is there anything that you would like to share with us that I just plain didn't ask? Any burning, oh, I wish you'd asked me that question.
Here's a couple questions that's come in on the Q&A chat. Talking about the numbers of alumni bands, Scott. I think one of the things, first off is just getting to know more of the alumni and letting them know that we're interested in you being a part of what we're doing, and we want to be a part of what you're doing. I think making sure that students that are about to graduate have connections with the alumni band so they know, hey, here's an organization you can go be a part of. I think that's a really important connection. I think one thing too, I know that I'm the 7th person in this job in the last 6 or 7 years. So I think that kind of turnover is not really conducive to long-term planning.
Right.
And since I want to keep living, I don't want my wife to take me out back or anything. I think that me being here for a little while hopefully will help. I know we all want alumni to be involved. This isn't something where it's like, hey, glad you had your time here, good luck. We want the alumni to be as involved as possible. We want to be as welcoming as possible. But I think first, just connecting with individuals, getting students connected, finding out all the different historical things about BRMM, and just connect, and the ISU marching band, and just connecting all of those things. I think to make everybody feel welcome, I think is a good first step. And then down the line is finding a way to make alumni band. How does it work at ISU? You know, it works at Texas, it works at LSU, it works at Miami. All three of the schools very differently. So trying to do that exact same thing here is not necessarily feasible. So finding, what do the alumni want? What are feasibly things that we can do? What would make people feel good about being a part of it? I think fact finding and finding that information out first would be helpful as well.
Excellent. Tim is asking, he says, hey, Mac, welcome. What kinds of shows are on your bucket list for programming for BRMM? Once things are where they are to be back on the field doing drills, of course. Or more broadly, what are some of your tastes when it comes to show design? That's a great question.
That's a really good question, Tim. I really like the good old-fashioned or good new-fashioned college marching band stuff. Whether you're looking at like Malagueña, El Toro Caliente, or we're looking at doing like the theme from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. We had a Beatles show that was going to take place this year, and it was going to be the ISNBC show. So we're going to slide probably that show to next year. I like taking any type of pop culture show or pop culture music, whether it's like as they call it, like a binge watch show where you take a bunch of different show themes and mash them together. Same thing with video game themes or movie themes or anything like that. Something that's just fun for everyone to be involved with.
Cool. Gary's saying, regrettably about COVID, I read that ISU, U of I, and EIU were listed recently as the hottest of new hotspots in the sudden outbreak in the Midwest and Illinois. How well is the campus handling it? And what are the current conditions? Do you want me to take that one? Are you okay if I take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm on several of the COVID committees that are working on things, and my staff is also responsible for feeding the students that are in quarantine or isolation. Quarantine meaning that you've been exposed, so we have to move you away, or isolation meaning we know you have it and we have to really move you away. I think the students are starting to take it very seriously. I think the town is taking it very seriously, and things are really coming around. We did announce that we're going to have spring break. The president announced that the other day, that we won't be canceling spring break. Once Thanksgiving gets here after fall break, all classes will be done virtually, except for, of course, juries for the College of Fine Arts. Juries will have to be live when they come back for finals week. But students will not have to come back. Res halls will be open, dining centers will be open, the Bone will be open. They can come back. But if they don't wish to, oh dear, things on my porch just fell over. So it was like, whew, that was loud. If they want to come back, they can, and we will have those things for them to do. But if they don't, and they choose to stay home, that's fine too. We're being very cautious. A lot of people are still working from home. Like I'm still working from home. My staff that actually run the events are in the Bone, but I'm not. So we're taking that all very, very seriously. I think we've reacted really well to it from a very cautious way. I think we've done very well. And also they've done the testing in the Bone, and now we're working on like all kinds of different things that the students are going to have to get tested. Okay, So Scott is asking, hello, love. Scott is asking about the Halloween band.
To be honest, I didn't know that was a thing. So if that's something that's happened in the past that people really enjoyed, we'll certainly look into it.
No, what I'm doing wrong here. Let's see here. We have a couple. Judy is saying, Judy Matheson is saying, you've talked about your experience in college, etc. What is your main instrument? What made you decide to follow music as your profession? And if you hadn't been a musician and or teacher, what would you have done instead?
The first question is, I was a trumpet player in a different life. Since about my sophomore year of high school, I wanted to be a band director and study music. So I'm one of the few that was just lucky to know what they wanted to do. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what else I would do if I was not a musician. I think one of my hobbies is I love to cook. I love to grill, and I love to, put things out on my smoker. Being from Texas, I love doing like brisket.
Good to know.
Yeah, I love to cook brisket, ribs, any type of barbecue. So to be honest, probably if this hadn't worked out for me or this avenue, I probably would have gone into the restaurant business or something along that lines.
That's cool. That's exciting. Judy and Gary are both of the, only because I know both of them, are both of the era back prior to Big Red. They were with George Fowler's marching block. And Gary's asking, are you using formations with music or just moving ranks and shapes?
We'll probably do a lot of what you'll see with the modern college bands. I like to do pictures. In some cases, we may do some military style stuff, like when we do our Veterans Day show, incorporate a little bit more of the formation and rank and file marching on some of those. Just try to give students some diversity in what we're asking them to do. But a lot of what I do for the bulk of the season is going to be like music, shapes or pictures or things, that I think complement the music. Like if we do a Beatles show, we might try to create 4 stick figures crossing the street, just like on their famous album cover, or do some things like that are maybe recognizable and readable from the stadium.
I know Judy and I have gone to Grand Nationals with Bands of America several times. It's cool to see what all the different schools do and the different, almost different total outlooks of how they do it. So I had a question that I seem to not be able to find, but I have an answer to that question from Gary. So Nathan, in my own words, not his, asked what your opinion was of Tobin's Pizza. And Gary is answering that Tobin's was the mainstay for delivery on West Campus and Tri-Towers. It only competed with a walk to Ragusa's near Hamlet for Sunday night supper. And I am a total Tobin's fan with you there. Have you had the opportunity to go there yet?
I have not. We've had, I will, it's on my list. It's going to happen soon now. We've done, when we first moved here, we did Giordano's for my wife's birthday because she had never had deep dish pizza before. So I was like, figured, hey, that was a thing that we should probably do. And then we've had pizza a few times from Flingers, which has been really good. So I will add Tobin's to the list of pizza to get next. And
Nathan's answering, hey, Gary, I was more of a Michael Leo's guy myself when I was a student. Me too. And Mr. Kelly's, Michael Leo's and Mr. Kelly's. But that's not around anymore. He's saying, when I was a student, more of a Michael Leo's guy, but that's not around anymore. I miss Tobin's dearly, though, never got to go to Ragusa's. Well, Nathan, just as a heads up for you, guess what exciting news is out there? The people at Tobin's purchased Michael Leo's recipes and things when they closed. So when you call to order Tobin's delivery, they ask you if you want Tobin's or Michael Leo's. How cool is that? That was a big revelation when that happened. So it kind of helped us get that back. Still no Mr. Kelly's though, and people think I'm crazy. Have to get one of each next time then. Exactly. That is awesome. Exactly. Oh, Scott is telling us the jazz band on Halloween. The jazz band on Halloween was a bit of a tradition back in the late 80s, early 90s. I was never a part of it, but it was always a blast to sit in the auditorium and listen. Oh,
Sorry, I typed a response and I think it went away.
I was like, oh, it's going away.
It's going to be in the answer tab, I think.
So was that in Braden? If you're saying auditorium, did they do that in Braden then? Scott? Just checking. I know they did not at Braden. Oh. So at Aware. Not at Braden, but it was at ta-da. Oh, and the CVA. Oh, okay. Thanks, hon. That makes sense. Awesome. Excellent. Good to know. Okay, so then let me check these. We'll have to remember that because frequently at our alumni band things, we do Avani's for our food. Maybe we need to branch out into Tobin's and Michaeleos. I got to tell you though, people who don't live here, it is still the original carpeting on the walls, I swear. And if you can get close enough to the pictures, there are people we know in some of those pictures. Just saying.
I feel compelled to order Tobin's Pizza for dinner now.
Then it's the big decision, Tobin's or Michaeleos.
I'll have to get one of each. That was good advice. See no reason to choose. Let's give them both a shot.
You can make your own decision then.
Right.
But when they deliver, will you know which one is which?
That's a good quote. Yeah, I'll order two different actual pizzas so I know, like, I can tell by the toppings. And then the next time I'll just flip it.
We have another vote here for Luca Grill. Luca Grill in Bloomington always had great pizza too. Have you been there to Luca in downtown Bloomington?
We've eaten out maybe 3 times since we've been here.
That's right, because you came during the pandemic.
Yeah, and going from grad school to having a job, this is only my 2nd month of having a real salary. So that's been a big part of it as well. We've been to Ancho and Agave, which is really good. We've had pizza from Flingers and from Giordano's. And then Rachel, my wife, and I went to Distill this past Friday. We have family in town. Rachel's mother's in town helping Imogen through school, so we can kind of take a break from working and teaching school at the same time. So it's been a nice break. So we had a little date night last Friday, which was lovely.
Oh, fun. We have another question. Have you tried Avanti's bread?
I have not, but I will.
You need to do that too, yeah. Someone is saying, Nathan is saying, get Tobin's thin crust with a side of barbecue sauce. Can't go wrong with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Scott is saying Michaeleos was awesome. I think I may still have a stolen beer pitcher from there. Honey, I had a whole set of glassware from Garcia's, not gonna lie.
It was pint night. They were available to take as long as you finished it, right?
Exactly. And White Horse Inn used to sell buckets.
Wow.
There used to be a place called White Horse Beer, and you could buy buckets. And the beer was actually in the bucket, like not in a bottle or anything, in the bucket. So I wanted the bucket. All right, it looks like we have no open questions up here. We are actually kind of getting down to the wire here. Gary's saying, when I visited Illinois many years, now in Virginia, I discovered McGonagall's, which I like, but my best memories are Tobin's, and I still have Tobin's when I get to normal. Oh, that's awesome. Great. I guess we are getting down to the wire here. Open it up to any last minute questions if somebody wants to ask Mack. We definitely want to welcome you to our Redbird family. We are really glad you're here, and once a Redbird, always a Redbird. I know some schools don't necessarily welcome you into being their person. Like if you don't graduate from there, we're not like that. You're a Redbird from day one. So welcome to you and your family, to the Redbird family. And we look forward to seeing the wonderful things that you're going to do with the band program. And we're very excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. Everyone's been so gracious and welcoming, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of the ISU Redbird family, and so thankful for the opportunity to work with all of the students of the Big Red Marching Machine, to work with all of you as alumni. I look forward to getting to know you, hopefully in person at some point.
Yeah.
And if there's ever anything I can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And it was great to see everybody virtually. I'm just gonna hope that Jamie's gonna tell us what to do next.
Thank you all. It was great to meet all of you
Yeah,
via
thank you
webinar.
so much.